This episode of Variant is brought to you by Audible. Today on Variant, I'm going to give you my essential 3 Spider-Man comics, or as I like to call them, a trinity of mind-blowing arachnid epicness. Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than this guy hates ballistic gel people. Like I just said, I'm going to be giving you my essential 3 Spider-Man comics, and I couldn't be more excited. I'm sure most of you saw the Amazing Spider-Man movie over the last week, and are probably curious about Spider-Man in the comics and would like to know more about him, or what are some of his best comic books. So let's get our spider senses tingling by starting off with my number 3 essential Spider-Man comic book. My number 3 pick isn't actually one particular comic, it's a story arc called Kraven's Last Hunt, which lasted over 6 issues. The story arc was actually a crossover series that linked 3 Spider-Man titles together: Web of Spider-Man 31 and 32, The Amazing Spider-Man 293 and 294, and Spectacular Spider-Man 131 and 132. The reason this is in my top 3 is because the story was so dark. It's basically like Spider-Man goes Batman. The story starts off with a bang where Spider-Man basically gets shot in the head by Kraven, who's always been obsessed with killing Spider-Man since he's the only prey he hasn't been able to catch. After he shot Spider-Man in the head, he buries him and takes on the Spider-Man mantle wearing his costume and all. But is Spider-Man really dead? You'll just have to find out and read the story for yourself, my friends, or use context clues by looking at the covers. Speaking of, Web of Spider-Man 32 is actually one of my all-time favorite Spider-Man covers. I love how dark and eerie it looks, and black costume Spider-Man is always a win. Did you use your context clues? The story also has what I would say is a shocking ending. Shocking because I didn't expect them to do what they did the way they did it. The art is by Michael Zeck, who also worked on Batman Legends of the Dark Knight. His art really sets the vibe for anything he does, and the story was nothing less than amazing. It was written by J.M. DeMatteis, and I probably just butchered his last name, but he also wrote for Captain America and Justice League of America. My number 2 favorite Spider-Man comic is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 21. The issue is probably one of the most important Spider-Man issues ever, up there with his first appearance issue, Amazing Fantasy 15. Spoiler alert, the reason why this issue is so important is because in this issue, Spider-Man's girlfriend, Gwen Stacy, again, this is a spoiler, so if you haven't read it, close your ears until this text goes away, is killed by the Green Goblin. That alone was crazy, but what made it even more crazy is how it came out of nowhere. Like this guy's hate for ballistic gel. It went from issue 120 where Spider-Man was fighting the Hulk to the next issue where on the cover Spider-Man saying someone close to me is gonna die. It was nuts and had fans completely blown away. So what happens is the Green Goblin kidnaps the Webhead's girlfriend Gwen Stacy, he brings her to the Brooklyn Bridge and pretty much throws her off the thing. Spider-Man shoots a web to catch her, he does, thinking he saved her, but when he tries to wake her up, she doesn't wake up because she died. What's crazy is it's not specified how she died. Some people say she died from whiplash due to Spider-Man catching her, with the caption saying snap next to her neck. But the Green Goblin also suggests that the shock during the actual fall killed her. Either way, Spider-Man still blames himself for her death, and this comic is definitely one of the most monumental comics in, dare I say, comic history, and definitely in Spider-Man's history. It also seals the fact that Gobby is definitely Spider-Man's arch enemy as he killed the woman he loved, which after this, Spider-Man swore he would kill the Green Goblin. This is actually a hard pick for me. It was between this and issue 122, which is the death of the first Green Goblin. Summary though, the plot was monumental and a must-read for any Spider-Man fan. It was written by Jerry Conway, who co-created The Punisher, and art by Gil Kane and John Romita Sr., Kane, who co-created the modern-day Green Lantern Hal Jordan, and Romita, who is fan-favorite Spider-Man artist. Audible.com is the leading provider for downloadable digital audiobooks and spoken word entertainment. Audible has over 100,000 titles to choose from to be downloaded to your iPod, MP3 player, and playback anywhere, anytime. Choose from books in every genre like science fiction, thriller, drama, comedy, business, history, and more. I actually saw a lot of cool comic books on there. Go to audiblepodcast.com/variant to get your free audiobook download of your choice when you sign up today. Again, go to audiblepodcast.com/variant for your free audiobook. And my number 1 Spider-Man comic book of all time is, well, it's actually a tie between Amazing Spider-Man 300 and Amazing Fantasy 15. Now, some of you are like, hey, that's cheating, Arris. And you're right, but I can get away with it. It's my show. Spider-Man 300 is actually the first full appearance of Venom. His first appearance ever is in Amazing Spider-Man 299, where he's shown in the very last panel of the issue, terrifying Mary Jane. The reason I love Amazing Spider-Man 300 so much is because it's the issue where we find out who Venom is, and Spider-Man and Venom finally battle. But I also add it's a double-sized issue. The fight scene between Venom and Spider-Man went on for over 10 pages. Just the fight scene. And the fight scene was everything Spider-Man 3 should have been, but wasn't. I really love the art, which was done by Todd McFarlane. Like I've said before, he's my favorite Spider-Man artist. I love how he made Spider-Man's eyes really big and contorted him as he swings through the air with his webs going everywhere. It just looks awesome to me. The story is also fantastical, as the whole Venom story arc is easily one of the coolest villain stories ever. You really feel for the characters and the situations they're in. It's written by David McKinney, probably butchered his name as well, who also created fan favorite Spidey villain Carnage. I'm also a big fan of black costume Spider-Man, and in the words of Barney Stinson, it's the uppest a person could ever suit. I love the suit ever since Secret Wars, which is the first appearance of the suit. And as for Amazing Fantasy 15, I mean, it's Amazing Fantasy freaking 15. It's the first appearance of Spider-Man, and what made us all fall in love with Spidey in the first place. Brief summary of the issue for those of you who live under a freaking rock. Radioactive spider bites teenage boy. Teenage boy can crawl on walls. With great power must also come great responsibility. I just got you caught up in one sentence, because that's how I roll. But this famous quote I just mentioned, with great power must also come great responsibility, actually wasn't spoken by Uncle Ben to Peter Parker in this issue like most people think it was. Uncle Ben never says that in this issue. It's actually not said to Peter at all by anyone. The only appearance of this phrase in this issue is at the very end in the caption box. So that's a nice little fun fact for you. But I think this issue goes without saying is an utter classic, written by Stan Lee, cover art by Jack Kirby, and the interior by Steve Ditko. First up for Wednesday, July 11th is Batman issue 11. This is the conclusion to the fantastic and epic Court of Owls storyline, one of the best Batman storylines in years. Next we have Spider-Man issue 3. If you're a fan of Spider-Man, you definitely need to be reading this. Now we have Before Watchmen issue 2. The comics describe as this isn't a book, it's a bloody confession, so I'll take the bait. Please and thank you. Next up is Venom issue 20. Toxin vs. Venom in this issue. That's all I should have to say. And here we have Scarlet Spider issue 7. This comic has been really exciting and never boring, so it's definitely worth a look. Next we have Sunset One Shot. It's co-written by Kristen Cage, who co-wrote Area 10, which I loved, so I'm definitely going to be picking this up. Here we have Massive issue 2. This is a book to look out for, and it's a post-everything world-based book. Plus, the world is dying, so a captain and his crew must ask themselves, is a world that's dying worth saving from pirates, murderers, and thieves? Now we have Enormous One Shot. There's a huge beast wreaking havoc in the streets, and the only rule is hunt or be hunted. And finally, we have Walking Dead issue 100. In this issue, we get one of the most violent and brutal things to happen within the pages of this series yet. Well, that's it for today's episode of Variant, but as always, I want to know what you guys think. Your opinions and thoughts are important to me, so comment below on what are some of your favorite Spider-Man comics. You could also do so on our Variant Facebook page. We're actually putting a poll up there with the question, which do you like better? Spider-Man's original red and blue costume or his black costume? So hurry up and go cast your vote there if you'd like. And while you're there on the interwebs, drop a hey, hi, or hello on my Twitter page at twitter.com/Arris_Quinones. I would love to chit chat with you guys. But alas, that's it for today on Variant, and I will see you next week, and I give you all the highlights from San Diego Comic-Con. It's going to be legend. Wait for it. Spectacular, spectacular, Spider-Man, spectacular. Dairy.